Thank you for having me. Really looking forward to this presentation. You know, one of the things that really separates this conference from others is the educational piece. And today I really I'm going to try and bring that to you all. I'm going to focus on wind specifically, but I'm going to go through several different projects. And what I've found in the past is that instead of sitting here telling you, here's how it's going to be done, I just like to take our body of work and actually use it. And so everything you're going to see today is a report that we've actually written, okay? And so I'm going to take you from the start to the finish. We're going to start with shingles, tile, we're going to get into metal, into entire building envelope stuff. And the biggest thing I want to focus on today is how we address opposing engineer reports. I get this question a lot when we have people who send us a report. What do you look for? And I'm a partner of Orlo Forensics. My partner, who's the engineer of our company, is Patrick Snowden. He's the senior principal engineer. I am very proud to let you know of, I think just this year alone, with our 4 other engineers, we have opined on over 130 projects to the state. Not one of our guys have had a dauber challenge, and no one's ever even been close to being struck. I share that with you because engineers make absolute statements that they have to absolutely back up. And it's why I'm not an engineer. They are given an assignment, and we do work both sides, but I would say it's 90-10. So 90% on the plaintiff, 10 on the defense. And when we get an assignment from a carrier, oftentimes they literally put in there wind-driven rain, please go investigate the property at this address for wind-driven rain, etc. Well, why would they do that? Because they know wind-driven rain typically isn't covered, right? And so when I go through an engineer report, the first thing I look for is what absolute statements do they make that they absolutely can't back up. For example, you're going to see this today. The wind speed was 25 miles an hour. Since when did the engineer become a meteorologist? On any single report we write, we are going to provide a meteorologist if there's a difference of how big the hail size was, how fast the wind speeds was, etc. And that's really, really important, you guys, because engineers need to stay in their lane. What happens is they start to become experts of everything. And we don't. And that's really what separates our firm from a lot, is we stay in our lane, we provide the experts around us to then provide a report that meets the Daubert Rule 26. And so I'm going to start out with a project here. This is a very large project we did in Florida. It's an architectural shingle job. The big center building is over 3 stories tall. It's actually almost 4. And there was, I think, 14 of the regular buildings, and then we had another 20 different garages. And so here's what they said in that. God, I need to be able to read this. There we go. So this was from the carrier side. This is what I want you guys to focus on. And really important, did not exhibit any evidence of damage, punctures, scrapes, or scuffs. So on that report, he said right in the first sentence, he didn't discover any evidence of damage, any. So if we find any evidence of damage, we've got him right there, right? Point number 1. Point number 2, field shingles exhibited full cohesive failure of the sealant strip and partial cohesive failure of the sealant strip at shingle corners. How many of y'all seen that before, by the way? Multiple of you? Yeah, I've seen several hands go up, okay? Third, shingles appear to remain sealed for the first 4 to 5 years of service life, but beyond that time frame, the frequency of unsealing trends upwards. He concludes these findings support our field observations. All right, well, let's get into this. All right, very first slide. So he also didn't provide any weather data on this, like 0. He just said it was old. So come to find out, there was a 65-mile-an-hour windstorm that came through here that actually had rotation in it, and trees fell on the property. Okay? So point number one, we have already got him at the torn shingle piece, right? Very, very simple to find those. They are widespread on the property. The other thing you're going to hear me use today is the word widespread. If it's isolated, it can be repaired, right? But if it's widespread, what's your repairability? It's replacement, right? So I really want you guys to zero in on this because part of what I'm going to provide for you guys, right at the bottom, and you guys have to look at this stuff. So on any report, right at the bottom, you see it says Dixon, Perka, Marshall, what have you. Those are the white papers that have been produced to back up our findings. And it should be on every single carrier report as well. Okay, they have to source their information. I'm sure there's several attorneys in here that will speak to the importance of that, but we have to include those on every single report. Okay? Interestingly enough, he goes into the ceiling thing, right? Well, Marshall, the greatest Hague engineer ever, says this. Underlying shingles is typically due to the combination of thermal expansion, contraction, and wind uplift. So, what am I getting at here? B, the slide on the right there. So, I'm going to go to this. I want to show you a square that we do. I'll go back. So, on this particular job, and this is this job, what we did is we identified the keyways. That's where the two shingles meet, okay? And so where the two shingles meet in the underlying course, you got usually a 5.5 or 6.6 offset, correct? That is your thermal break, and this is how every one of your wind claims should look. And we've never lost this. This job did not go to trial. Heck, we didn't get deposed on this thing. We just paid it immediately, just so you know. So your offset on your shingle between the overlapping course and the underlapping course, that 5.5 offset, is your thermal break. How many of you ever heard the term zippering? Right? Zippering comes from a staggered or racked insulation, right? Well, what happens is you have thermal movement. And in fact, if I go back here, and I believe this is Dixon, B is where I pulled these from. You guys will have access to these white papers. Please hear me. So Dixon actually shows us here the end joint and the sealant strip. That is the thermal break in your shingle. And those are going to lift, especially after 4 to 5 years. They always are. However, anything past that point where the shingle underneath intersects, and you can see this in the black and white photo where it says end joints between shingle strips, where that intersects, anything past that, I'll fast forward to the slide, is wind. Okay, so anything past the butt joint that goes past the overlying shingle underneath is wind failure when you have wind speeds that exceed this. So this idea that they don't pay for shingles that are unsealed, Mr. Marshall himself writes about this. So for those of you that are Hague certified or run into this, listen, man, I want you to get that article after I'm done here because you can use this and be like, look, we had an event, we had 60+ mile-an-hour winds, hell, we had trees down, and this is exactly what y'all applying on anyway. It's his white paper. So if your test squares, if you have more questions about this, grab me at the end of it, okay? Any questions so far? We're good? Okay. Here's the best part of this. So in Dixon's white paper, the influence of unsealing on wind-resistant asphalt shingles, he says they remain single the first 4 to 5 years of service life. Well, interestingly enough, this gentleman, we'll call him that, decides to say that the shingles exhibited this type of behavior. How many of you, I'm really curious about this, when you go to a job site, are asking how long or when the last time the shingles have been replaced? It should be a must, right? Should be one of the very first things you should ask. We had him at this, despite the fact that the shingles are not even manufactured anymore, right? I go to so many jobs, and the contractor, I did a massive school in Pennsylvania. The contractor had never went on the inside of the building, ever. He was so focused on the roof. And so when we start a project, we start from the inside out. Okay, it's really, really important, you guys, when you start looking at these jobs. I know the roof pays the best. That's great. Sometimes it doesn't. You'll see that. But oftentimes the roof's a big ticket item on this. Well, take the path of least resistance. That doesn't mean you focus on the roof. In fact, as we move on to the tile portion of this presentation, you're going to see this. So this is a Hurricane Ida claim we did down in Louisiana. It's a Ludowici tile. Now, there's a couple things right off the bat we need to recognize here. See how it's almost 3 stories tall, right? Because of the flood. How many of y'all heard this? We're going to deny this roof because of footfall. Somebody's been sunbathing up here. It just shocks me these guys say this stuff, right? They do it all the time. And the other piece is they say there's no storm-created openings. And guys, we do tons of tile. Tile and metal, I mean, they're personally my favorites, just because I understand them the most, and I don't have to like run some big heavy calculation to figure out what happened on them. So no storm-created openings. This was his statings. No storm-created openings were observed on the roof. This is my favorite. 46 displaced field tiles and 12 rake tiles need to be replaced. Foot traffic and previous repairs were observed on the roof. Well, I'm glad that the homeowner was taking care of his property. Good on him, right? It's part of what he's supposed to be doing. But here's what's really interesting. Have you ever seen a report, and maybe y'all have, I haven't seen one yet, where they actually identify what 46 tiles need to be replaced? It's a free show out there, right? I mean, I remember my first beer. God, I hate this thing. Just so you know, my wife made me wear this. I feel like a PA right now. I absolutely cannot stand this suit jacket. What's that? Sorry. She told me to look nice. I'm like, I don't do my best. All right. Sorry, off topic. Oh, it's amazing, though. These guys have the ability to say, number the tiles specifically. And for those of you attorneys in here and the PAs have been deposed, have you ever seen them actually tell you where they were at? No, it doesn't happen, right? So when it comes to tile, it's really, really important to hear me on this. What is the primary moisture barrier? Anybody? Really? Okay. So how is water getting in to a building when there's no storm-created opening? Right? Big question. It's shocking to me that we have and they'll always defer back to wind-driven, right? Some ridiculous thing. So, again, we start from the inside. We identify the areas within the home or building where the moisture is coming in, and then we correlate it to where the roof is. I would guess if you guys start doing this, just like we have done, wherever the roof leaks are on the roof or inside the house, they're going to be within 10 to 15 feet on the roof, depending on which way it's coming in, right? Let's go through this. So here is the a few of the displaced tiles. You can see a couple of them are fractured and what have you. But the photo on the left, photo 30, is one I want you to really pay attention to. How many of y'all work in hurricane right now? Just by raise of hands. Holy cow, a lot of you. I'm glad I'm doing this, especially if you're down in Florida. Man, we have plenty of it here in Texas, Louisiana. Okay, the photo on the left, you're going to see that those shingles are displaced off to the left there. What's happened? You can assume that the shingles have been displaced. It's shifted due to wind, right? Here's why I see contractors and PAs specifically make mistakes. They go in there, they take photos of this, and they say, this is damage. You're not wrong, but you haven't proved it. What haven't you proved here? What's that? It could be. Fastener. Bang. Okay. What type of loss is a wind? This is really important you hear me out. What type of a loss is a wind on a roof? Is it mechanical or structural? It's structural, right? You have a fastener, potentially, that's been, what? Compromised. Correct? What type of, real quick, on hail, what type of failure is it, structural or mechanical? It's mechanical. It's a mechanical failure all day long. And in fact, one of my engineers, Sam Harms, is writing an incredible white paper on this right now. You guys will really like it, okay? Part of what we do when we calculate hail, we calculate the kinetic energy behind the wind. On any of our reports from our meteorologists, we get the size of hail and the wind speed. This idea that 1-inch hail can't damage shingles, I'll tell you what, especially on a shingle that's more than 4 years old, if it's just falling straight down, maybe. You put 25 miles an hour wind behind it, that's money all day long. All day long. We'll write that every single time. In fact, we provide the calculation within every one of our reports. Let me carry on here. All right. This is a structural failure of the tile. Okay? You see how the nails have been pried loose? That's what you guys have to document. I see so many of you guys send me this. Dude, this roof's hammered. I have no idea. What if, and I hate to say this, especially here in Texas, there's so many loose-laid roofs out there, it's unbelievable. Totally loose-laid roof, they're just literally sitting up there on a bat and hope it didn't get blown off, right? You have to check this stuff, all right? Notice how, especially on the photo on the right, how actually both of them, see the up and to the left, just the exact same angle as the fastener on? You guys have to look for this. So, when the fastener gets pulled out, what does it do? It tears the underlayment. I will tell you right now, if you start with the inside out and then you start documenting where these are, your moisture map, how many of you are moisture mapping the inside of a house in correlation to the roof leaks? If you're not, man, you need to start doing that. It's so vitally important. You'll see that every single time. But we haven't had one this year, and dude, down in Florida, holy cow. I mean, the amount of houses that we've done down there with this, it's incredible. If you moisture map the interior and take your computer, and there's several different softwares out there, to overlay the roof system, it'll be literally right on top of it almost every single time. Y'all should be doing that, okay? Especially with the technology that's out there. All right. Now, for you PAs and attorneys here, I want you to really, really listen to me on this. We've seen so many policies lately. We hear this, that they're only doing cash value, right? They're not paying out X. It comes with metal exclusions. There's so many different varieties on here. So we have to be really careful. When it comes to this roof right here, does this roof need to be replaced? No. The tiles don't need replaced. What needs replaced on it? Oh, whoever just said that. The underlayment. So if the underlayment needs to be replaced, we do a detach and reset. Detach and reset actually pays more, right, than a replacement. So if you're an attorney, you're trying this case, y'all, my honor, or like he's talking to the jury, my expert isn't even saying the roof needs replaced. He's actually just saying replace the underlayment. So look at our conclusions on this, guys. This is really important. And you're going to see this. We do the same thing with metal, just so you know. We recommend replacement of the tiles that are missing fractured due to the extent of the fastener damage. You guys can read that. We recommend repair and replacement of the interior finishes. Okay? Due to the extensive fastener damage and despite details need to maintain the matching tile, we recommend a detach and reset of the roofing system so that the tile can be harvested and a new tile can be limited to the least visible facets. We recommend replacement of the missing flue caps. Guys, we do this so you guys can make more money. Okay? Several of y'all are my clients already. I mean, just raise the hands. How many have we done this? Hank? Yeah. I mean, we do this a lot. Ran, I don't know where, the light's so bright I can't hardly see you guys. Okay? We did a church in Guyman, Oklahoma that was, how many squares was that? 200 some squares of Ludowici tile. My God. It had leaks all over it, and they had 87-mile-an-hour winds. And I didn't touch on this because I think most of you know this, but what are these, roughly, when you see a wind rating, how long is that rating for? 5 seconds. So you guys that are working down in Florida where you've had, or Hurricane Ida, and you, well, even on a claim like Guyman, we have our meteorologist say, how long did it blow like that for? Right? Your shingles have a 135-mile wind warranty, and it's rated for 5 seconds. For Christ's sakes, we've got, how long did it blow in Florida? Like over 100 in places. 7, 8 hours? It was insane, right? So think about this. They want to bring this, well, it was rated at 135 miles an hour. Yeah, for 5 frickin' seconds. God, I remember my first beer. Let's keep going. All right. Am I doing okay on time? I know I'm good? Okay. This is a massive industrial manufacturing facility. And this was a hail and wind claim. They had a metal exclusion on this. And it was kind of like an emergency deal. We got there. As we got there, we got the meteorologist report. We had 78-mile-an-hour wind gusts on this. And so this is a space we play in probably more often than not, this type of facility. And this is the beauty in this. I really want you guys to pay attention to this because now we're diving in. This, just so you know, this is this project finished at $3.4 million when it was all said and done. So let's roll. The engineer had to rebut, said there was no indication of significant wind impact or structural damage visible on the building exterior. It further states that the ridge caps on the roof panels do not exhibit damage which would consist with uplift of panels, loosening of screws, or water intrusion issues. Mr. Blank blames all the observed damage on thermal backout of fasteners or normal wear and tear. Now, for those of you that play in the commercial space, and man, we do a ton of it. When you're doing with a metal building, in fact, if you're doing any commercial space, specifically a metal building or like a bar joist, you have to consider thermal. How many of you ever walked on one of those? Yeah, they move, right? Every time you walk on them, they move. You feel it, right? Every single time. So you have to eliminate thermal, especially on an exposed fastener system, right? An exposed fastener system means you can see the screws. So there's 3 types of metal roofs out there, basically. Okay, you have exposed fastener, you have a snap lock, and you have mechanical lock. Okay? The snap lock and mechanical lock are what's referred to as standing seam. Okay? Make sure you identify what type of metal roof system you're inspecting. Okay? A mechanical can be a single lock or double lock. You also need to measure the rib height. If it's a double lock, you've got to understand it is nearly impossible to actually make those repairs. Currently, we're doing a project with Herr Group. I think we have 37 double lock trapezoidal metal roofs. Okay? I'm going to show you an example of a project like that. But specifically, we have to go through and identify where uplift actually occurred on each and every building. Okay? I'm going to show you a job like that, but just so you know, those jobs have to be inspected from the inside out. All right? Well, let's check out what we found. So our very first walk around the building, I actually took both these photos. We found out, because it was pouring rain the day the gentleman got there, so if you're not doing an interview with the building manager, because most often these building owners have no clue. They aren't there, they don't live there. So if you're not doing an interview with the people that work there, we found out the guy, I actually almost included it, but I decided not to. He went out, took a photo of the building. CoreLogic said there was 1.25 hail and 38-mile-an-hour winds. Okay? He literally took a building. He was there for 17 minutes. 17. Holy crap. Okay, well, let's go. So we go around the backside of the building. Now, there was a couple snakes. I ain't going to lie. I don't like my kind of jump. Really did. I go over there. There's all this debris laying on the ground. Okay, you guys can see this, right? I come around the corner, and the semi-truck comes over there. I'm like, holy crap. I said, who's the yard guy out here? I mean, it's a massive facility. You guys see the size of it, right? So I'm like, who runs this joint? He's the yard guy does. I said, hey, when did this happen? He goes, on the date of loss. He literally gave me the date. I had the pictures and everything. I was like, oh, shit. So I was like, well, I know we've got something here, right? So now remember what he says here is really important. Which would consist of uplift of panels, loosening of screws, or water intrusion issues. Guess what he didn't do? He didn't go inside the building, right? So, as the good Lord blessed us, it happened to rain the night before. So, and this is where you guys have to be careful, because I get these pictures. The picture on the left is a close-up view of the end lap separation. Does that mean we have a lift-up of failure of the screw? Does? No, it don't. Oh, it does not. You could have thermal. You can have thermal. Do not be shaking your head. Yes, you're completely wrong. It's an indicator that it could have been. But for crying out loud, do not assume that's a failure. Okay? Picture on the right. We had water coming out. Looking more favorable. Does that mean we have failure? No. What has to fail in this roof system in order to have a failure to get the roof bought? Fastener failure. Okay. Oh my God. Would you look at that? There's widespread moisture infiltration. Now, Chris Corbell and I were talking earlier. What's the IICRC state? If you have over 40% of the roof and wall insulation, it needs to be replaced, correct? Chris, am I wrong? All right. See the picture on the right? This is very strategically placed within our report. I want you guys to see this. We've done it, I mean, again, I just cherry-picked some of these out of here. The picture on the right shows the wall having moisture in it as well. The other thing that we try to strategically do in our reports is we try to put the contents, get a picture of the contents below the moisture. Now, if you're, I know most of the attorneys in here know where I'm going with this, but if you're a PA and don't understand the contents piece of it, man, talk to some of your peers in this, right? But we do this for a reason, so y'all make more money, all right? Now, we definitely have moisture infiltration, right? So we've got him on point 1. This is so critical you guys see this. We're 24 feet in the air. We get a scissor lift, okay? And the view on the left is where the fastener, and this is what you got to look for, where the fastener is in a lower position. Now, a key indicator you have to look for fastener failure is you see the little black dot with that the arrow's pointing at? That is an indicator that the panel has been lifted up and the fastener itself failed, okay? The picture on the right shows that the fastener pushes through the Z-purlin. Now we have a structural failure, which means we have what? What was it, roof replacement? No, it's detach and reset, okay? Whoever said that, you're tracking with me. Look at this one. This is the best one. This is the best photo I took of this. You can literally see where it sheared off, okay? You see that? God, I'm getting attacked by bugs. Again, fastener on the left, fastener on the right. So on this particular job, what did we do? A replacement of the insulation and a detach and a reset of the metal panels. Pays twice as much as a replacement. Have you guys ever had to detach and reset a metal roof? Have you ever tried it? Who said yes? I heard somebody say, I can't see. This light's like right in my eye. Okay, when you detach and reset the metal roof, how did you store those panels? It sucks. It absolutely sucks. And if y'all aren't billing for it, you're losing out on thousands of dollars, okay? You have to make sure. By the way, detach and reset on a tile, vertically in a crate, under some sort of a shed. But it needs to be vertical. If you put them flat, they'll crack under their own weight. So per the manufacturer, vertical in a crate. That's how they come. Okay? So make sure on tile, I forgot to mention that, I apologize. When you do metal, make sure it's banded. You don't want them suckers blowing away in the wind. Yeah, who's done tried to install a metal roof panel in the wind? Yeah, it's like a sail, right? All right. So when you're up and you're looking at these guys, this job took us a week to investigate. This is not everyone. Hell, the other day in Iowa, I think it was some other conference. I FaceTimed Galen Hare. I don't know, is he here? Hey, did I not FaceTime you 50 feet in the dark? What's that? I did. Legitimately to show him this. Like legitimately, I'm like, dude, we climbed back to the end of this thing and found the failure, right? We have to be right. We can't assume we're going to be right. We have to be right. We're not going to make an absolute statement that we absolutely can't back up in my company. Our integrity will not ever be bought, ever. There's a reason when we have collapses in the DFW area, the insurance carriers call us because we can investigate the claim. Okay, to its fullest extent. The fire that just happened, I don't know if y'all are part of that. We're on it. All right. Any questions about this before I move on? Because, man, I get a lot of them on this. I'm trying to make sure I stay on time. Good? All right. It's probably my oh, man, here's two of them. These last two are two of my favorites. This is a high-rise building in Dallas. Let's just say the greatest defense attorney in the country was on this. And I will tell you right now, I study that man more than anybody out there. I know where he's at all the time. I've learned a lot from him. But I also learned how they do things. And one thing that I actually found out is when he wants to dig his heels in, dude, he's really good at it. And you better be fucking right. So I apologize for my mouth, but you need to be. So on this particular job, he brings out the greatest doctor in the entire world on this job. Doctor of engineering. I'll just go do it. He literally states he found really important, no evidence that wind gusts were sufficient to cause damage to the roofing systems at the subject property, and he backs this claim up by the airport nearby, Love Field. Now, problem number one, don't be a meteorologist. I work with several. I'm telling you guys, this is a huge part of this. He claimed, this actually had a tornado go over the top of it. He claimed that the wind speeds were 27 miles an hour because the airport nearby said that's what they were. And he stood behind it. They got a report. By the way, this paid out $9.7 million. Just so you know. I worked with the owner and the contractor, and Jack Hanks was the appraiser, and he got $9.8 million out of it. And he actually made a post of it. All right. Second, saw no evidence during our survey of the subject property where the metal roof coverings had sustained wind damage. Now, guys, I'm going to jump into a standing seam roof piece. Am I good on time? Okay. All right. Here's the overall view. It's a whole city block. And then here's your collateral. Okay? How in the hell does EFIS get ripped off the side of a building and you only have 25-mile-an-hour winds? You guys see how we're setting this up, right? Now, this is where I have had these photos. If I, just in the last 2 weeks, if I had a $100 bill just in the last 2 weeks where I got photos just like this, and contractors and PAs screaming at me, "These mother bleepity bleep, I can't believe it." I can. What's wrong with this? It's an overall view of panel deformation at the clips, widespread overall view of panel deformation at the clips. How do you know the clips are deformed yet? They look like it, but have you confirmed it? What's that? Dang. We got him right by his nuts here. Okay? This is the best part of our job right here. I love this part, you guys. Dude, we are hired to investigate the claim. Cal, what's your line? I can't remember it. We have to investigate the claim to its full. I can't remember how you put that out. What's that? Yeah, exactly. We're not there to look at a subject, the roof. We're there to look at the building envelope, but you have to understand how it's put together, right? This particular case, I mean, this was awesome. We have a clip that literally, due to negative air pressure, so a tornado is negative air pressure. This building, all buildings are designed for negative air pressure. Wind blowing against the building, right? So we have negative air pressure that caused widespread fastener failure. But had we not done an intrusive investigation here, we'd have never known this. Ever. For those of you that have worked with me, how often do we have the contractor on site? Almost every freaking job. Almost every single time. Because we're going to have to dig into that thing. And when we're talking about these larger loss claims, you guys, we have to be right. You cannot make assumptions. You know what pisses me off more than anything? There's the one guy that gets away with it, and he gets up on stages. I don't do conferences. This is the only conference I do and one other, Level Up. Only two I do. Why? Because they're about education. Not some guy up here saying I've made it. Dude, we learn stuff every freaking day. The day we become bad is when we decide that we are good enough and we know it all. If you, like, I personally have a coach in my life. It's the single best thing I've ever done in my life, is to have somebody that pushes me and holds me accountable in everything, in my personal life and my business life. Sorry to get off on that, but that's really important to me. Like, we all need to improve, and we constantly need to be learning. In our office, we try to bring the guys in at least twice a year to get mock deposed. I thought Galen, Hare, and Patrick were going to go to blows one day. It's like, dude, we're just playing here. You two need to chill the fuck out. Like, legitimately, what's wrong with you? Right? Drew, Howden, Merlin, holy God. I'm like, you too? But it's good, right? If we don't take that type of energy and bring it to each and every claim, we're doing a disservice to everyone, right? All right. I'm trying to wrap this thing up. I know I'm almost up. I need to get through this one. All right. How many of you guys have ever dealt with a roof claim where you've had a failure like this on a commercial job? Okay. Really want you to listen to me because I want to pick on you for a second. Anybody know what a demarcation line is? No? Okay. See where the blue, it's like a blue tarp or whatever that's covered right there on the left-hand side by the semi-trailers? You can almost see a line that goes across there, right? So let me give you the background on this job. There was no opposing engineer report. I went to a distributorship. I gave some little speech on if you have a tear-off like this, make sure you bring in just for a third-party eyes. That's all I said, something to that regard. Or a third party, to just review it. I get this call. I've only worked with the guy one time. It was this job. Never worked with him again. And he goes, hey, dude, I don't want to stir the pot on this, but the demarcation line, GAF is backing the remaining 11 years on the NDL. It's a 20-year NDL, so that's labor and materials. They're going to let me repair the roof to the demarcation line, and they're going to give me $3.7 million in O&P. I guarantee you, if I wasn't up here and I just said I was going to give you that on a job, 90% of you would have taken that right now. That's good margins, right? Job's done, right? But he said, dude, just something about this. He's like, when you see this, he's like, even when we were doing the temporary roof, things weren't fastening right. Will you go take a look at it for me? Sure, I'll go take a look at it. All right. So, we now have, buildings are engineered for negative air pressure. Now we have an opening in the building, it becomes positive air pressure, right? So just like your car, you need to remember this. If you're going to write something down, write this down. You have an intake and an exhaust. When you have air, wind, that blows into the building, that's your intake, right? Now you're going to have an exhaust. You have to look for the exhaust. So you can see the picture on the left and the picture on the right exhibit that. Does that mean it happened? No. What do we have to do? Intrusive testing. Now we're cooking with gas. How many of y'all done a TPO roof before? Okay. Do those things just pop back out by themselves? We got something here? Now we know we got the roof, right? Don't stop. This is where I see most people fail, especially roofing contractors and PAs. We got the big ticket on, we got them by the balls. Okay? Remember, 3.7 million. Let's keep going. There's the reverse side of it. Trust but verify. Bang. Look at the fastener on the left. You can literally, damn thing. Look at where the threads are stripped. All right? So, we have the roof system now, right? I'm going to go back to this. In this photo, what do we see here? I see tilt wall, bar joist, metal deck. How many of y'all saw that when I showed this video, or this photo? But most of you saw the roof. Okay, let's go back to it. That deck that you saw the fasteners have been pulled through, if I have that much force and I have a tear off, something's going to happen. The entire deck, almost 85% of this deck, the puddle welds had failed on the entire roof system. Now I have the metal deck. Claim just doubled right there. Bang. I'm replacing the structural metal deck on this thing. Do I stop? Getting it. What's that? Now I'm going to take you to this photo right here. Hold on a second. The photo on the left, now remember these panels are 35 feet in the air. The photo on the left is what every one of these bar joists look like. I assure you, just like they did, and I don't blame them. They had forklifts running all over this place, right? Something ran into that, no big deal. Right? Guaranteed. Got us. We spent $3,000 on a scissor lift. Right up there we went. Look at the bar joist on the right. Dude, and it gets worse. Okay? Do we stop? No. No. We're talking building envelope. We're talking about a structural failure of a magnitude that literally ripped off structural deck, caused bar joists to fail. Don't stop. Your duty is to protect the insured. Right? That's what they've hired you for. You're sitting at about $10 million right now. Oh my God. Now we got them. Look at this stuff. We have failed puddle welds on, let me see if I can go to the, on that side of the side where the tear off or the blow off happened. The first two panels on each corner and that entire wall are now being replaced because we found failures within the building envelope. They then found dust that was flammable, so the whole thing had to be cleaned before it was done. Claim paid out $18.9 million. Off of a guy. Seriously, I'll never forget to see him as long as I live. He heard me speak for 4 minutes and say, if you got a failure like this, make sure you bring in an expert just for a third-party look. I assure you, everybody in this room would want that type of payout. And we do this on a regular basis. We do this at this level because we care about investigating the claim to the fullest extent. It's not always just about the roof. Sometimes it's about taking the path of least resistance. Right? Stop focusing all your time and effort, especially in commercial, on the roof systems when you could be just getting it because of moisture intrusion. Right? Positive and negative air pressure. I just want to just wrap this up by saying thank you for having me here. I'm an open book. My contact information is on this, my cell phone. If I can't get to you right away, I will get back to you. My phone's ringing right now. Literally. I share that with you because I want to see everybody succeed. A rising tide lifts all ships. Okay? And at the end of the day, especially with the shingles, Derek, where are you? Right there. I'm going to give you those WIN documents on the drive. You can have those, okay? Just download them to your computers, what have you, for your shingles. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to wish you guys the absolute best this year. Thank you all.
Thank you, Todd. I don't know about the rest of you, but a lot of times when I'm out in the field or on the phone, I hear